And we are going. What's going on with everybody? It is your boy, Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real, raw, rugged. And I have a very legendary person on the other line. I will let him introduce himself, man. Who do we have here today?
Jake Uno, Jake One, whatever you call me, Jacob Dutton, Seattle, Washington. That's it.
You know, it's funny. I'm so scared to. I do that intro with everybody. Like, I'll let the guests introduce themselves. It's so. I don't know why I'm saying this, but like, I say that sometimes, and I think they don't hear me. So I say, I'll let you introduce yourself. And there's just silence. And I'm just like, I don't think they heard me. So I'm just like, so we got Jake Uno, we got Jake One, everybody.
They just hide. They're just hide.
How are you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. It's a beautiful day out here, so always exciting when we get the sun. So we just get outside and get active.
No, for sure. I have to. Man, I might yawn a bunch of times through this interview, so I want to let people know I went to sleep so late last night. I was so just entangled into the whole Kendrick thing last night. What was going on?
Oh, it was yeah. I watched. I made sure I got home to I wanted to watch it live because I feel like when you watch something like that on a replay, you don't really get to feel the significance and the way we watch things and everybody you're watching what's going on Twitter and your 15 different group chats, whatever the hell's going on. It needed to happen in that moment. But yeah, never seen nothing like that. I don't think we're ever gonna see that again either.
No,
So
compared to like I know you like basketball. It's like who's trying to
yeah.
watch like a basketball game or repeat? Like you want to watch it live. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Like you don't want to
Yeah,
watch Game 7 of the finals the next day. You want
right.
to
You
watch it
already
when it's
saw the
happening.
highlights. It's like
You know who
whatever.
won. Like it's just it's
Right.
no point. But yeah, I was gonna ask you that because I was like you're older than me. You've seen much more
Yeah.
hip hop live,
Right.
and I was saying to
Right.
myself I've never seen anything like that. That was a unique
There
experience.
really has not been that. I mean, and I was talking to a homie of mine yesterday, so if Ether comes out and we all got to see it happen in live or Takeover, Takeover happened to Summer Jam, but that wasn't broadcast to the world. We didn't even get to see that. We just heard about it, right? Um,
I never even thought about that. Like that
so
was
to
that was
see
just yeah.
this all play out live just made it. And then I kept thinking did he just already decide he was going to do this before the battle happened? Like he knew it was going to go this way? I don't know. It's never going to see nothing like this again.
Not
That
at
was great.
all. One thing about this whole beef, it just made me realize. Well, I knew this going into it, but it really confirmed it. I was like, Kendrick is a super strategic person. Like you can tell he everything he did, he already had it planned. It seemed like
Right.
way ahead. And I feel like when it comes to like when you're dealing with somebody like Kendrick, you have to be strategic. You can't
Right.
just go in just saying like you're just making things up on the fly. You really have to know like think what your opponent's going to do next. And
Right.
that's why it's something that I thought was so dumb, like a narrative that a lot of people were running with was that man, Kendrick is taking a long time to respond. He's taking weeks to respond. And I remember people were like, well, Ether took like some months to come out. And I'm
Right.
like, who even knows that? Like, I didn't know Ether took that long to come out. Like, who's going to remember that 10 years from now that Kendrick took
Right.
3 weeks to respond? So, yeah, that was an insane moment last
I
night.
think the big issue with the whole thing is you have Drake, who's probably the best at making just hit songs, maybe ever in rap, probably for sure in rap. I mean, we could just go to any genre at this point. But it's like he's not playing to his strength by just trying to just rap all the time. You know what I mean? With this thing. And it's like you get a dude that can dunk and it's like, no, I'm not dunking, I'm only shooting threes a day. And it's like, well, I don't know, you probably should be dunking, you're good at that. And then for Kendrick to do it with a club song to really do that, I just think nobody saw that coming.
Everything that he did, another thing he did in that thing, he showed he can make every type of song because that's a club
Right.
song. He has like the 616 LA song, which was like just like a just like
More
a
one bar
lyrical,
hip hop.
yeah,
Yeah.
So he made every type of song with the that we're just on my Alchemist off camera, the one that Alchemist produced, the
Yeah.
Meet the Grams. He made
Right.
a damn spooky horror type rap song. Like he was
Yeah.
all over the place, and I don't know, just like as a producer, listening to because the reason I said this off camera to you that like I've been wanting to interview for a long time, and it's because
Yeah.
I think and some people take this as like an insult, but this is the biggest compliment I give you. I think you're the most underrated producer ever to exist on Earth. I don't know if you take
I
that
mean,
as a compliment.
I do because I think that you could be up in any sort of category as that high. I just know like the songs I've done and the work I've done, that's gonna speak for itself, and I can't do anything but just do that, right? So like the people choose because they choose to be stars, and I mean I don't really make the effort to do those things, so it's like I gotta just hold that myself, right?
Well, you
Um,
because on your in your Twitter name is something. Your Twitter name is something like you produce that, like like that. That's why I think you're so underrated because people don't put they know the beats, they don't know the
right,
face. They might not be like, oh, that's him. Too much of
right.
that. I need people to know. Hey, Jake One is literally one of the best producers ever.
I think a big part of it is I haven't just done one thing, right? So if you kind of just hammer one thing, um, you kind of get you can own that. And I mean I do have a couple things I feel like are my central core things, but like I took some weird turns that like even I wouldn't have seen coming. If you'd asked me in the '90s when I started making beats, that some of the stuff I'd end up doing would have never thought that was where I would go with it, but shit just happens, you know.
No, and that's where I was going at it with like you as a producer. Why I love you so much is because you're so versatile. You have stuff that's not even hip hop, like Tuxedo. Like you're just
Right.
all over the place, and kind of like going back to the Kendrick thing when I was saying like he made every type of song, just being versatile.
Right.
As a producer, do you think you gravitate to rappers that are more versatile, or do you not even think about it like that?
I don't, man. I just my taste in rappers is mostly just voice and delivery. That's what I go for first, and presence. Like my favorite rappers are like like a Rick Ross. I just feel like Rick Ross made all the songs I liked for 10 years. You know what I mean? So like, and he made them popular, which was another part that like I come from the underground, but I want to get money too. I want to be successful. I want everybody to hear my shit. Like I didn't want to just toil as a fat beats producer. Like that wasn't my goal. So um, yeah, it's weird. I mean, I just feel like I have kind of weird eclectic taste. Like I mean, I love Rick Ross. I love Rock Mars. I think they're not that different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they might rap on different music, but the attitude and the personality is very similar. You know what I mean? Or I have an album coming out with Freeway. Freeway has been one of my favorite rappers this whole time, right? And I just feel like that dude, when I hear him rap, I'm like, I'm not getting this from nobody else. And I gravitate towards that. I think, I don't know. It's weird. Everybody's very gets personally offended by like if you don't like a certain rapper, you like this rapper, and it's just like shit. There's no consensus with any of this. You know what I
No,
mean?
for
So,
sure.
and then like this the trap stuff I did. I wouldn't even say I knew that was just like I would say kind of an accident. Like I wasn't really gunning for that. Um, but yeah, in hip hop, there's definitely like a certain kind of thing I like to gravitate towards. Larry's another one. Like
For sure.
just they're just entertaining. They're to me, it's more like they don't take themselves that serious. They always say something that's like that makes me laugh. I mean, I don't know if rap is supposed to be about that, but that's where I'm at this stage of my life. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And like you said, people will get like offended or mad if you don't like somebody or if you have like a certain take, like I like this album over
Right.
that album. It's like, how could you? But a lot of that is really like regional based. And like I understand, I have a Jay-Z take that boy people do not like. So, but I'm from the South. I'm from
Right.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Right.
So the music that I grew up on might be different from what's considered to be like like the standard in music or like you're
Right.
supposed to
Right.
like this because something that I've always said, I've always thought personally that and I was never a big Reasonable Doubt guy. Never really liked that album like that. It's just so too slow. I don't know. It just never really clicked for me. I remember one time I said offhandedly that I feel like Lil Boosie debut album is better than Reasonable Doubt. Oh boy, why did I say that? Why did I say that? But it's like I'm from the South. I heard way more
I
Boosie.
think in a lot of parts of the country that was probably not even an opinion. It was just the general feeling amongst people. And I think because New York always just had this head start on everybody. Had the media. They hyped their shit was just hyped up to be better than everybody else. And at a certain point, other regions were like, nah, fuck that. We're not. Just because New York said it's good doesn't mean we like it. I mean, I'm from the West Coast, and even though a lot of my music, I feel like in the last 10 years, my West Coast sensibilities probably shown more. But I mean, E40 was more popular than Jay-Z where I live. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what it was. And E40 was probably more popular in the early 90s here than guys that were superstars in other parts of the country. So that shit definitely informs it. It's kind of changed now because I think everything's so homogenous. Like, you know, everybody, you could find a fake version of any kind of rapper in any city at this point. Like, because it moves so fast and it's so easy to, like, cut a song, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think that's when we talk about the versatility I have, just being from here. Like, my friends weren't really listening to East Coast stuff like that. Like, the stuff that was playing was all West Coast. Like, that's what they were listening to. So I think some of that musical stuff rubbed up on me. And, you know, like, but I loved the way the Premiers and the P-Rocks, I just loved the samples. I thought that was so dope and how they programmed. So I kind of ended up meshing those things together in a way. You know, there's maybe a little unique.
And I love East Coast music, but whoever's like the PR guy for New York City, what a great job. I mean, you would think New York is heaven. Whoever that PR guy is for New York City, you would think this is just the most perfect place of all time. I went to New York one time, and yeah, so
they own it. You know what I mean? They started this shit, so I get it. And they were the best for a long time. But once the world opened up and we all got a chance, maybe they weren't the best all the time. But was before everybody, you know, I'll go to New York and hang out with, like, one of my big homies who I'm really good friends with is Lord Finesse, right? Yeah. I will go hang out with him in New York because I just love New York hip hop, right? And it's like the ties to all these people. I went to grade school with this guy. This guy knows my cousin. Like, you weren't even going to get a shot to make a beat for Biggie back then. You know what I mean? You had to know one of them guys. You had to be from their block. And once that internet hit, it was really 50. 50 changed it all. Like, he gave everybody a chance, and it kind of hasn't changed since then. Then everybody you got dudes in, like, Sweden that are making trap bangers that are, like, big songs. So, like, you just never know. You know
I'm telling you, bro, I've heard, like, a beat be like a super soulful beat. So I'm like, oh, man, a black person produced this. I'm looking up some dude from Switzerland, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So you're not wrong. You are not wrong. And kind of going to your versatility, you were talking about you like the voice. And the voices you just named are just hilariously different because Rock Marcy voice sounds nothing like Rick Ross' voice. No. Rick Ross has that deep, resonant voice. Yeah. And somebody even like Freeway almost has like a higher pitch voice. Yeah, you know? And both of them have amazing hip hop voices, but for two completely different reasons. Like the reason that you might like Dr. Dre's hip hop voice is probably not gonna be the same reason that you like Rock Marciano's hip hop voice. Very, very different. And yeah, that's interesting that you named those three artists because their voices sound nothing alike whatsoever.
It's just that dynamic personality though, like that, and it's not something they're trying to do. They got that charisma on the mic, and like that's the stuff you just can't really become that. You either have that or you don't, right? Yeah. Like you can't really study how to be cool. Like you could just kind of feel it. It either is or it isn't. You know what I mean?
That is a fact, and it just like because those are people with like more kind of East Coast styles outside of Ross, but
Ross is a really East Coast rapper.
Yeah, like, he like Rick Ross. It's funny because like, so I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. No Florida rapper sounds like Ross.
No, because I think if you're of a certain age, I mean, I'm 48, so like, if you came up under the beginning of hip hop, you still got those fundamentals that are just a little different, you know what I mean, compared to like somebody that's 32, right? They're more coming from it from a different place, and it's not a good or bad thing. Things need to change, right? We can't just be doing the same thing forever. But I noticed it with him, and even like when 50 came out, I was like, man, me and 50 probably like the same kind of music, you know what I mean? Like we probably were both, you know, like he was listening to KRS-One, you know what I mean? You don't think of gangster rappers of that time being like somebody that would know about that, but that was probably what he came up on, you know?
And all these different coasts, because like I said, you're from Seattle,
Yeah.
And it made me think about this because looking at in the end of the Kendrick show where it was basically like, hey, this is a West Coast moment or whatever. So
Right.
somebody from the South who doesn't really know a lot of people from the West Coast, as a person from Seattle, do y'all feel connected to the West Coast like when it comes to rap music, or do y'all kind of feel like
I
isolated?
we're isolated, but I think in general, if there was, like people here in general, will it's really been a Bay thing. I feel like we embrace stuff from the Bay in a different way than I mean, as much or more than they do themselves, right? So like somebody like Mac Dre was just really like a star here, even before it was really big,
Mm.
or RBL Posse. It's like certain guys, Jacka, like they really hit out here. Somebody like Dom. Dom had like a crazy run out here. He's still really popular here. Larry is another one. Like he was kind of the newest one where it's like and this is not like people that make music that I'm talking to. This is just people I know
Yeah.
that aren't even. And I kind of like to hear that opinion more than like what I think, because I think way too deep about all of it. It's just not. You need to just know what the general people are feeling, right?
No, for sure. That's why you stay connected. Because if you just get in this
Yeah.
bubble of just all these super musical people, you might get lost in like where the casual man wants. Like all these people, like
Right.
you're super deep into the music. What about the guy that hasn't you don't know how to play one note on the piano?
Right.
What does he want to
So
hear?
they
You know?
feel it. It hits them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nip had the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Nip was one of the ones where I was like, oh, dudes, I went to high school with like this, and the kids like him, which is really hard to pull off. Um, but yeah, I mean, watching that yesterday, I was very hyped to see that. Like that was cool, and just knowing LA street politics like that's not easy to do what he just did last night.
No, that was damn near. I said that was damn near like some Black Panther shit. He was bringing
Yeah.
hoods together. Like it was insane to
Right.
see that. And it's funny because I've been learning a lot about like Seattle rap culture. Funny, last person was he last person? No, like the one last people I just interviewed just kind of gave me a history lesson. You follow him, so I'm assuming you guys may know each other. Sango.
Yeah, Sango's my boy.
Me and so Sango in our interview, he gave me kind of just like a rundown of just like just
Yeah.
Seattle rap history or whatever. And you guys have rich
We got a
history.
lot of guys,
Yeah,
yeah.
you guys have. That's why I say, do you feel isolated? Because when we talk about the West Coast, I feel like we're talking about L.A. mainly, Oakland,
Right,
the
in the
Bay
Bay.
Area, but
I mean,
Seattle feels
they
like left
are
out.
far from us, though. Like, you
Yeah,
can't just get in your car and be like, oh, "Hey, I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna drive to the Bay." It's 12 hours,
but
so
look, but
like,
even the South, we're talking about like this, like we're nowhere near. I don't know, fucking what's a long place that's not here? Like I don't know, Texas or something is like it's far away from
right?
me, but they're all concluded into Florida, Texas,
That's true.
Tennessee. It feel like y'all aren't included in that bunch. Like I said, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it just feels like as an
Well,
outsider.
we haven't had the rappers, I think, that hit in that way. I mean, I'd say the only one, and I mean, obviously Macklemore, he's a rapper, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a rap culture thing. You know what I mean? It's more of a pop music thing.
Yeah.
It is at its height. Um, but like the kid Lil Mosey, he actually made some songs. I was like, wow, I'm just hearing these like in regular life. And he was from here, but there was really nothing Seattle as far as his branding or what they were selling. You know what I mean? So like, and you only get one every once in a while. It's not the same as like the St. Louis sound is, Nelly and Chingy
Yeah.
and like we never really had that. We had Mix-a-Lot, we had Ish, who obviously Diggable Planets, but they were on the East Coast when he did that. And then it was a crazy drought as far as success. You know what I mean? But we've had a lot of producers though, like the Business are from here. Obviously, what I've done, Sango, Vitamin D. There's a lot of guys that have made a mark with the beats, but yeah, I mean, even Malay was like, he produced the Frank Ocean albums. Like that was like one of my first keyboard players. But everybody leaves because it's not here. You know what I mean?
So outside of music, what is Seattle culture? Like what do you think you guys are known for? What is Seattle culture?
I mean, really the rain. I think that's why we get good at the arts. You know what I mean? Like because it's the weather's not good for like 7 months a year, 8 months a year. So if you're inside working on your craft, and basketball, we're really known for basketball. We got a ton of NBA players, especially for a city of the size. We've had a crazy run with that.
I do know that you guys have
Yeah.
nothing but NBA players coming out of there right now. So
Right.
from now in the past, like, so yeah, I do know that.
so that I would say those are the main things to me. But it's also like it's totally dependent on what part of the city you're from, and I mean just the general national narrative is the guy throws the fish at like at a Seahawks game. It's just the same, the Space Needle. Like it's not really what the people who live here do, but I'm sure they do that for wherever city, you know.
No, for sure. I mean, like Florida, I would say like the whole like Florida man thing or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of crazy people here, but do you know why that's a thing? Do you know why Florida man is a thing and like why other states don't have Florida man going on?
I don't. Who
So
started that?
we have something called. Hold on, I'm gonna get this. I think is. Hold on, I want to get this right. It's called the Florida Sunshine Law, and essentially, it's a law that basically makes like all of our like criminal records like super public.
Oh,
So
okay.
everything is getting picked up. Like most states actually don't allow people mugshots to get out there. We let that
Right.
get out. It's like everything is super public. So it's much more easier to get that headline versus maybe Seattle. Things are a little bit more private or
Right.
whatnot. So I would say like that's probably us like Florida man. Like people think like, oh, what are you just wrestling alligators all day? You know, it's like not
Well,
really.
it's a huge place, right? So like when they show us like the whatever 10 crazy things that happen a year, then that's in your brain more than like some marathon they run or something just totally mundane. It's like, which I'm sure most parts of Florida are like that, right? Like it's
Yeah,
like anywhere,
yeah. Like what are your what are your general thoughts when you think of Florida?
Man, I just have not spent that much time there. I've been to
Mm,
Miami like maybe twice.
really?
Um, I went to Disney World when I was a kid, but it's so far. Like
Yeah.
it's like it was like a 7 hour flight back. I was like, man, I don't know. This is a little too deep for me. Like,
I went to LA for the first time when in like 2019. That flight is long. You're not wrong.
yeah,
That's a long flight. It's like a
it's
5 hour flight from here. So
so you figure like we're literally on opposite corners of the U.S. and the U.S. is huge. So like, um, I mean, it's funny when I think of like Florida, my initial is like sports, obviously, and then like the rap that was coming out of Florida when I was a kid, which was like being 12 years old and being like, yeah, well, can I get that tape right there? We want some pussy, Two Live Crew.
that's interesting because being out in Seattle, I would imagine Seattle culture is just much different from Florida culture. You just hear the music, like it's just different types of music.
Right.
So
I mean,
like,
I'm also forgetting the grunge thing. I mean, that's probably like,
of course, I forgot like Nirvana and all. Yeah, like
yeah,
all
all,
that's
all
coming
that
out. Yeah,
happened here. And like, I have family who was kind of involved in some of that stuff, but I was never my thing. I was never into rock music. So like,
really. Oh, so you were never into like that because I mean, 'cause that's like of your era, right? When you're coming up,
it's totally, I
right?
was in high school when all that happened. I mean, just to tell you the level of how I just didn't know, I was playing basketball at this place for maybe like 6, 7 years. And I was playing against this one particular guy all the time. He was like my size. We play against each other. I'm guarding him. He's guarding me. And I was like, I wonder why this guy always has like practice gear from like the Denver Nuggets. He had every team's like full outfit ready. It's just like an older white guy. And I'm watching Saturday Night Live one night, and I'm like, oh shit, that's homie from Pearl Jam. That's him that I play with every day. Just didn't make the connection. You know what I mean? And
That's
like,
interesting.
he thought that was hilarious when I brought it up.
When you got older, did you ever dive into that stuff, or it just still
Not
never
really,
clicked?
man. I feel like maybe I should. I mean, it's funny, this route I take a lot of days when I kind of like my routine. I'll drive by Kurt Cobain's old house and I'll see people, putting flowers by this bench and stuff. It just was never my thing. I don't know. It's like, I think also I'm so old in old school hip hop that like you kind of just were into hip hop and you didn't do other shit back then. It was it was a lot more serious in that way. I love that your generation has taken on this thing where it's like, if it's tight, we like it. I don't care if it's East Coast, West Coast, rock, country, whatever it is. It just wasn't like that, at least for my generation. Maybe we were taking this shit too seriously in my circles, but that's how I was.
No, man. People don't take hip hop seriously enough. I don't think anymore. I feel like that's why. I mean, because you're a positive guy. I've seen your
Yeah.
interviews, and you speak super positively about hip hop, which I appreciate as like a legend in hip hop. boy, I don't speak as positively about hip hop or present day hip hop because I do think the fact that a lot of people don't take it seriously. That's why you might
Right,
get a lot of trash or get a lot of undercooked stuff because it's a lot of people
right.
just, it's like, it's whatever, it's whatever. But like when you look at like old interviews and old footage, it's like people lived and died about
You
that
wanted to
genre.
be the best, and that was the whole point, right? And I think the thing, and it's really just a technology thing. It just made it
Yeah,
too easy to get to these same places, artistically, that it just made people lazy. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then there's just stylistic shit that's just always gonna, like, the newer generation is gonna want to do something that makes their parents mad. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I'll never forget. I was in the studio with Playboi Carti 2 times when he was working on his first album. I think it's his first album. It's like whatever the album that had Magnolia.
Yeah, yeah. First
And
album.
and and I honestly, I could not. I was just puzzled, man. I was just sitting there.
I was going to
I was
say,
with
I was going to say
Southside.
something you probably never thought you would have been doing in the '90s is being in a Playboy Cardi studio
Hell
session.
no. And I was like, he was freestyling for so long, and like nobody's even paying attention. You know what I mean? You don't know this guy's gonna be a star or whatever. Nobody's paying attention. He started rapping for 40 minutes. And like I was like, is he gonna go? Is he gonna do the verse? Because I'm just thinking of he was just doing ad libs, and they're like, he came out. He's like, nah, this is it. This is that young shit. You guys are old. He wasn't necessarily talking exactly to me, but I was part of the people he's talking to. And he was like, you guys are old. You don't get it. This is that young shit. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And then like 6 months later, I was like, damn, he was right. Because everywhere I went and they were playing his music, it just brought that same joy to the kids that this shit, Run DMC brought to me. You know what I mean? And just that inherent young energy sometimes, it can go so many different ways, right? But that's hip hop, you know what I mean? To me, that was like foundation hip hop, how that even happened. He's doing some totally weird, different shit. Now, the stuff that comes after it, that's where we get in trouble, is when it's influenced the next things that come. It's like, how far off beat can we rap? How little can we say? How many words can you not understand? Like, it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, as an old person, I just cannot even comprehend what's even supposed to be happening here, right? So I feel like I can't even judge it at the same time. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. You talk about like the words you can't understand, and it's not like because I think a lot of like people like kind of like not pronouncing their words come from them being off drugs, really. But I think about
You're
it.
probably right on that.
But I think about it. People in the '90s were off drugs. If you go listen to like Wu Tang and them, they were popping pills and doing crazy stuff. But I
They
could
were
always
hitting
understand
crack
them.
blunts back then, so like, I mean, not sending any member of Wu Tang specifically,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
but
that
we
was
know the
that same
stories.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We've all heard the stories, and like, but that's just not specific to them. I mean, people in the '90s smoking PCP just like regularly, and going in the booth. So why do you think that is a thing where now it is sometimes where it's like you can't, it's like unintelligible, you can't really hear, you can't really understand
yeah.
certain stuff, when back in the '90s was it just was it a thing in the early 2090s where people want to make it a thing that I want to be heard, where now it's like, it's not really about what I'm saying, it's how I'm saying it.
I think back then, lyrics really did matter. You had the hip hop quotable. That was like an aspirational thing, right? You wanted to be that person. Um, but then, there was also plenty of stuff that was like terrible lyrically. Even, and guys would be mad serious trying to write bars, and it just would sound like trash. So I just think it's always going to be good and bad of every era. Um, Definitely when somebody hits, though, like a Future hit with that style, right? Of like, I can pretty much understand what he's saying, I think. But like the sing songy thing, it became more melody driven and not lyric driven. And I feel like hip hop's still in that place. I mean, when did he come out with the DS2? Was that 2015,
Yeah,
14? Like,
yeah.
it's kind of been following that lane since then. And then they're just taking it to extremes. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Man,
and I
that was
think people do the extreme shit just to stand out, right? I
yeah,
mean,
for
it's like,
sure. And it's like one of those things where I think it's also a lot of regional things again, because people in the South sometimes do have a slur when they talk.
Right.
No drugs included. It's just the way
Right.
they, or they might talk fast with an accent. You're like, what are they saying? But people from where they're from, they're like, I know every word he just said. But if you live
Right.
somewhere in, Oregon, you're like, what are you saying? Is because it's that
Yeah.
accent. So yeah, I think it's all just like regional stuff. And I don't know, you bringing up like DS2 and all that. That's like, so like I was in high school when that came out, and
Right.
I just remember like that influencing people I went to school with who rapped, like changing their entire style. Like, oh, we're
Right.
finna get in the booth and rap like
We doing this
we
now.
doing
Yeah.
this. You know who really changed hip hop forever because they had a hold on the youth? It's really Chief Keef. Chief Keef had a
Facts.
stranglehold on, like, I
Yeah.
was there. I remember being in high school when Chief Keef, I was in middle school when Chief Keef came out. This is how long ago. I was just
Right.
super young, but I remember the impact that he had on the way people dressed, rap, everything. So yeah, I mean, like, and it sucks because not everybody's Chief Keef. That's the thing. Not everybody realizes they can't do that.
That dude had such a crazy charisma that like, and a lot of those guys that came from that scene, they were the ones, and I think it was just so dramatically different, right? But like, don't come, how you not gonna like that song? It's like, who doesn't want to say that about somebody? You know what I mean? Like, even it's not even based in like any sort of street shit. You could be at your job, you're looking at that guy and you're feeling all them words, right? Um, I mean, if it felt like that dude would have came along in the streaming world, he would have really, man, it just would have been, because there was a point like with him and Waka Flocka and some of the guys, they had the songs that literally just like you could not go anywhere without hearing them.
Yep.
But it was all like a Dat Piff and all that, and that the labels were like kind of feeling like rap's not making an impact, but it was because everybody was getting the shit for free, right? Had just as big an impact. So once that streaming shit hit, and they could really track what a future DS2 did, then it's like, oh yeah, this is. So then they start investing all their resources into that, because that's what they're doing. They're just making money, right? Like whatever is moving the needle, that's what they're gonna do.
And we haven't even brought up, like, if Don't Like came out when TikTok was around, like,
Oh my god,
it's the number one song in the country. It's the number one song in the country if that came out.
Right.
And one of my favorite things about Chief Keef, I love when I can hear a rapper do this. So I still love Chief Keef. I listen like his newest albums. If you listen to Don't Like and you listen to a Chief Keef song from this year, he raps so much better. Like, he's actually like rapping now. Like, he has
Right.
bars that stick in my head, like quotables, where I'm like, I love the fact that he's like improving as a rapper. Like,
It was
it's
cool. I
beautiful.
saw a video of him at Traxxer Studio. Traxxer's like an old school Chicago producer. Did like Twista and stuff like that. And he had like Chief Keef looking at like a real 808 and like the old gear. I'm just like, mind blown, right? Because all the backpackers at the time were like, Chief Keef, he's ruining the culture. It's like, but he came back to it. You know what I mean? And then you listen to him, you're like, man, he was kind of rapping.
And now, like I said, I mean, I just think about, like, I'm like, he has a recent song where what did he say? He said I don't shop at I don't shop at Walmart. I only hit Target. I only hit Targets, and I was like, that's hard. That's hard. That's a bar. That's a bar. Shout out to Chief Keef. And it's funny because I want to get into things you produce, but I want to see if you can take a wild guess. If you just talking to me for how long have we done this for? Like, what, 30 minutes? What would you
Yeah.
think my favorite stuff is from you, or favorite thing is from you? Take a wild guess.
I mean, I would say people your age, what I usually get is like Future, Percocet and Strippers, Drake for this thing, fucking Kodak Black, Calling My Spirits. These are the ones that when I meet, people are in the under 30 range. That's usually the shit they're on. Or Larry June right now. I get that a lot. But yeah, I don't know. Someone will be like, man, I love Rock Cocaine Flow. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. You were probably a baby when that came out. Like, that's dope that you know about that.
So I love, like, I think Percocet Sugar Joint is like one of the best hip hop beats ever. Like, I love that beat. I love the way he was rapping over that. The Kodak song, I'm from Florida. Like, Kodak is like, it's funny, if you come to Florida, Kodak is looked upon as like, can do no wrong. Like, I remember I was in like 12th grade, and like at a pep rally they played No Flocking by Kodak, and I remember seeing the teachers Kodak bopping. They're dancing. They're singing it word for word. I swear to God, like that's like the national anthem of Florida. Like the
That's
actual
so dope.
national anthem. I couldn't tell you every word of the actual American national anthem. I can tell you every word of No Flocking because
No
that is
flocking.
our actual national anthem of
Ah,
Florida. Like
I love that. I
from
love
white,
that.
black, old, young, whoever,
Yeah.
everybody knows that. But I asked you that question because I knew you would not guess what my
Right.
favorite thing is by you because it's
Right.
not any of the stuff you named. Even though I do love all that stuff, it's my number one. You know what it is? It's freaking. What does he say? Cause I am big bad body rocking. Failure is not an option. I've been grinding 9 to 5 like Dolly Parton. Art for talking make me lean like Oxycontin. Not for nothing but the dream sequence kinda vibrant. Do you know what that is?
It's Ali, but what's I remember the beat. That wasn't even on the album,
It's not
right?
even on the album. That's not even on
See, man,
streaming.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that because when we made that album, I would be like, man, this is what I want you to do. Just talk shit. But because he really lives his raps, right? We're talking about Brother Ali. It just can't be about being dope all the time and what's a good beat. So we would have arguments over that kind of stuff, and what I wanted him to do. So I love that. That's great.
That's the Left in the Deck project that y'all put out.
Yeah, exactly. So those are more of the joints I probably wanted him to use. But
Bro,
you know,
I
he's so
love.
serious about the political,
Yeah.
you know, and respect to him for that because that's super honorable because he was putting it on the line with some of the shit he was doing. Like I'm like, man, they got you on the TSA list, like for your raps, like I'm sliding straight through. They're not pulling me over, So
I freaking I love Morning in America. Morning in America is great, but Left in the Deck is my favorite thing ever. I love that project. That
that's what's
project
up,
is
man.
so good. Like you don't understand. I played that album probably every day. I think it was like 2013. I think that was the year after after Morning in
Right?
America
Yeah,
dropped.
yeah. Because we,
I
we did all that at the same time, and then he's like, man, let's just put some of these out. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Bro, that album is so the beats, the rapping, the writing. Like you said, he's talking shit on that album. You know what I'm saying?
He's
And
talking
I
shit.
I love the way he just put that album together. I love the beats. That is my favorite thing you've ever done. You've done so many
That's
good things,
crazy.
but that's my number one. I love that.
Wow, thank you, man. That's awesome.
You ever got that before? Specifically, Left in the Deck. You ever got somebody
No,
say
no, no,
that?
not literally, not one time.
Mm.
That's crazy. And I think and this has happened to me multiple times in my career. Like I'll work with somebody that I want to do, and I feel like it should be a good fit, but it's not for the maybe their fans. It's not in their lane, right? Like I think. And I think I fall into this a lot of time with the underground rappers. Like some of the beats I make are just a little too funky. Does that sound right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like they're not
All,
just
all the
record
beats,
based
all
all
the
the
beats you give
time.
Future, all the beats you give Future
Yeah,
are super funky beats, super funky beats.
and that's like that's my shit, right? So it's hard for me to just go all dark East Coast, only West Coast. Like I like doing a combo of the two things. I feel like that's what's I've had success with, but with the underground rap fans in general are so specific and they want it to be exactly like whatever they like from somebody. And like, if you give them like a slightly different option, they're like, I don't know, man. It sounds like something that Rick Ross would rap on. I hate Rick Ross, and I'm just like, why would you hate? He makes dope music, but it's there. A lot of them are fans on some idealistic shit of what they think. The message in the music is like, says about them instead of just listening to music for is it dope and entertainment. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's almost, and it's also like the people that like I don't want to listen to anything mainstream. Rick Ross too mainstream. Like I
Right,
can't listen to that.
right.
And but then in the same breath they will like be like I love like Jadakiss, and it's like they're talking about the same thing. They're talking about like the
Yeah,
same
a
thing.
lot of a lot of people. I feel like there was a big thing like, yo, man, but they're talking about this and this, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Dylan was talking about strippers and getting money. He did it in a different way. His beats were not mainstream, but still the central core theme, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's funny how like some of these things can be painted as an underground versus mainstream thing, And I think with my career, I really always try to tie those two worlds together and make something that was good to all those different people. That was my goal. So like when I hit it every once in a while, and I'm like, wow, that was a weird song, and that shit went. It's like super fulfilling, you know?
No, for sure. And shout out Dilla. Dilla's somebody who he's somebody because like I didn't grow up listening to Jay Dilla specifically. So
Right.
like I'm still finding out like oh he made that beat. Like I think I found out
Mm-hmm.
like this year that he made I think he made Didn't You Know by Erica Badu. The Didn't
Yeah,
You Know.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
had no clue that was him. I'm like that's insane. That's one of my favorite. I love Erica Badu. So it's like that's crazy.
His range was so crazy and inspiring, and even like I mean, there was definitely a point I was just making fake versions of his beats, right? Like I'd already been making beats, and when he came around, I'm like, damn, he's putting the West Coast shit in this with East Coast drums. I'm like, fuck, this is it. But he would also do a style and be super dope at it, and then just be like, fuck that style. I'm doing something totally different, and I really took something from that. I think if you can only just make one beat, then you're great at that, but you can't be one of the greats if that's, it's just like, the big conversation now is like amongst producer guys is like, yo, man, why is it 17 people doing the beat? Why is it 17 names on the credit? And it's just like, I kind of feel them in a way, but at the same time, like, it's probably good that other people that played on it got credit. Whereas before they weren't giving those guys credit,
Yeah.
right? But I do think you need to be able to make a great beat by yourself too, right? Like all that stuff I did with Southside, like couldn't have done that by myself. He had the bounce that made it the young people fuck with, and made those guys rap on that shit. If it would have been me doing the drums, it would have never happened. So like, I'm for it all, you know what I mean? But I do think you need to be able to like go in there and get one off yourself.
Dog, who has a beat? This is how versatile you are. Who is I will bet the house that I'm living in on this. There is no human on earth that has a beat for Brother Ali and also has a beat for Kodak Black. I know
Yeah,
for a
I don't think we
fact.
got that.
I know for a fact nobody has that. Nobody. Who has a beat with G Herbo? I was about to say G Herbo and Freeway. I could actually see somebody produce for G Herbo and Freeway. That's actually I
You
can
know
see
what's
that.
wild about Herbo? I did quite a few songs with him with Southside, and then I got to do one where I did the beat, and he rapped so on beat and perfect on that shit. I was just like, oh, you really just doing like. And I think the misconception with him is he's not rapping on beat, but he's literally starting his count where he's starting his one is like in an off place,
Yeah.
and it was some revolutionary shit. Then dudes want to rap like that,
Man.
but that was a stylistic choice. It wasn't because he can't rap.
So another person I grew up. So this is all around the Chicago Chief Keef era. Then you got
Yeah.
Lil Herb, Lil Baby coming out. If you
Right.
listen to those early Lil Herb songs, he's not rapping the way he's rapping now as G
No,
Herbo because he has a song with Earl Sweatshirt. I think it's Lil Herb, and he's rapping on beat as you like very conventional,
Right.
you know. But
Yeah,
now,
conventional.
like I remember the first time I heard that, it threw me off when he changed his style because I'm like, this is like some experimental Billy Woods MF Doom shit. Like this is crazy.
And people don't see it that way, but that's really what it is. There's not much difference in it, but because of the probably the beats, but like the perception of them being gangsters, and I mean they are or they aren't. I don't know, but like it makes it so they're not real artists. It's like, nah, that's some real artistic ass shit. You know what I mean?
Like you said, it's the perception of who they are because, I mean, MF Doom was talking about street shit in a lot of his songs. So
1000%.
you know what I'm saying? So it's just the perception of just like who they are, and it's just like, oh, this is whack. But if MF Doom did that flow, it's like
right.
it's
Like
revolutionary.
I went to Herb show. I don't know when this was, maybe 2016 or 17. I did this song with Southside that was like seemed like it was kind of a minor hit called Everything. It was like I can't remember. It's something about bitch everything.
Yeah, bitch, everything. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
and I went to the concert and I was like, and I loved going to shit like that and just being like, yeah, I actually like played the chord on this like, and that nobody would know. You know what I mean? I don't even think I knew anybody at that show. I was probably by far the oldest motherfucker at that one. It was like, whose dad is up in here?
That's funny. But you like I said, you make the you fit in seamlessly. There you go. You fit in very effortlessly. That's a much more easier word to pronounce. But you fit in super duper effortlessly on these beats, and it's funny because why I feel like I like Left in the Deck so much is because Morning in America is a super duper. It sounds like it comes together like it's not one sound, but it's a
Yeah,
super consistent sound throughout the album, if that makes sense.
right.
You're doing a lot of different beats because the first song on Left in the Deck doesn't sound anything like. It's funny because it's not on streaming, so I struggle with the names on the songs, but it's the
Man, I'm
beat.
not gonna lie. I have no idea what the names are. Like I haven't heard it in years. So like,
It's the beat
I
that.
remember, I remember making them, but like, yeah, because we didn't use them on the album, it was kind of like
Yeah,
just some
I
side
couldn't
shit.
tell you, but the first beat sounds nothing like the beat that goes I keep coming for more.
Oh
Da,
yeah,
ba,
yeah, yeah.
da, da.
Yeah, that's more like some funky shit. Yeah.
You know, and that's I love that bag. That bag, I don't know what you would call that bag, that specific song, but I love when you're in that bag.
It's like more like, I mean, it's hip hoppy, but still got like some West Coast in there. It's it's a weird, I don't know. There's just only so many guys that can get on it. So like, I'll make those and I'll just be like, I don't even know who to give this to. Like, there's only so many songs I can do for Larry. Um, he's kind of the dude holding that right now. But yeah, it's interesting um, how yeah, it's like even Ali. I feel like there's a misconception. Like people just feel like they knew what he was gonna make, because he's on Rhyme Shares. It's just like, oh well, I'm not supposed to like that because it's on Rhyme Shares. And it's like, nah, he's actually really rapping. When I did my song on White Band Music, "The Truth" with Freeway, I could not believe how people were like, yo man, that the albino dude, he's cold. I was getting that all the time. They didn't even know who he was. And I'm like, yeah, no, he can really rap. And I wanted to do that for an album, but he just didn't want
Hey, one
to
day you have to convince him. Just hey man, we need this for it because like this right here, this that's one of my favorite beats ever you made. That's one of my
That's
favorite
crazy.
beats. That beat is so fire. Um, do you? Cause like that's a sample from something. Do
Yeah,
you?
it's a bunch. It's actually multiple. Yeah.
It's multiple samples. So like that's interesting. I would have never guessed. I thought it was just like one sample. But that's you're the goat. You're great. Shout out to you, man. You're amazing at what you do.
I mean, the way I had to start making beats after a while was like trying to make it sound like a record, but not be a record because there was just a point where they were just taking all my money. It's like, come on, man. Like, so I make the song and then you take all the publishing and I just made somebody some money. Like, nah, I'm gonna find my way around that.
So we're just
And
talking. No, my fault. Keep
yeah.
going.
Well, the crazy thing is now I'm like all the way back. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna sample whatever I want again. So like, I go through my phases. You know what I mean?
No, I was gonna say me and Sango were just talking about that in the interview where he was saying like he would love to give money to the person who actually made the record,
Right.
you
That
know.
part.
But he said the people that are taking the money are because he said he'll
It's
find the
somebody that took their shit back in the day.
yeah
Had them in a janky deal. I mean, the crazy thing is this shit just never changes. You know what I mean? It's like always gonna be some predatory shit from the business side, taking the artist shit, and yeah, I mean, it's been cool these last like 4 or 5 years. I've made songs that like I saw the real impact on guys where they actually got the money.
mm,
And I was like, wow, like J. Cole, My Life, like we couldn't even find that dude at first. They ended up finding that guy. He got a bag.
mm.
He got a bag. I mean, he's up. You know what I mean? And that I love to see that. I don't want to see Universal up. Like
Yeah,
I want to see the person that made the music up.
that's what he was saying. He was saying like he would find the person who made the song, and they're like, I guess you can sample it. I don't own that song. Like you got to
And I
talk to
have
the
the
people that
rights
own
to
it,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
So I mean that's crazy, and like you said, it's these contracts that these people are signing. You signed a hilarious contract that I was listening to you talk about. It's so funny. I don't. What other producer could say? Yeah, I signed a terrible deal by Vince McMahon. You know, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane. And I would listen to your go subscribe to Snare Jordan, by the way, on YouTube. Super duper amazing beat breakdowns. I was listening to you talk about that, and you were like, you had to make a choice. Like, do I
Right.
say no because I get no royalty, or do I say yeah because who knows where this may go?
Right.
And you still don't regret that?
Nah, because at the time, like, um, it was kind of like either take this money or don't get any money. And I think I didn't. Was working from no leverage. Like when you're, I'm not gonna say when you're nobody, but when you don't have any sort of leverage in the music business, people can kind of just treat you how they want. It's fucked up, but it's just what it is, Like, so now, would I have liked to got like 5%? Hell, something. You know what I mean? It's whack that I get nothing. I mean, but at the same time, what you gonna do? You know what I mean? It's also one of those things that like, that John Cena theme song is like, it's just crazy. It's still going. Like, you could not have told me that would still be going 20 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it'll just. People are sending me something, a meme, something all the time about that. I'm just like, damn, if I could just capture some of this money. But the other part I really think about a lot is that, like, damn, thank God that wasn't my last one.
Yeah.
And I was able to make a bunch of others to take care of myself. But, like, there's people that make one and then they get fucked and then they're just, like, sick. You know what I mean?
I'm like something you probably don't know. Like, I'm a wrestling fan, so like Vince is very notorious for not wanting to license real songs as people theme songs. So that's why you hear, people, like people theme songs aren't like real songs that are on the Billboard and things like that. They're like, because he hates paying for those type of things. Like one of the people that I could think about who has like a real song is CM Punk, which is the Code of Personality, the In Living Color song, the Code of Person. Yeah, that's like one of the only people who has like a real song. Or not a real song, because these are, but you know what I'm saying, like
but like an existing song.
Yeah, like an already existing song, and oh yeah, I think freaking Ronda Rousey when she went to WWE, she had what's what's the name of the song?
Oh yeah.
Whatever that song is. So that's like the only two people that I can ever think about. So him doing that to you is the least surprising thing of all time because he's not trying to pay people for music whatsoever. So,
right, and he was the one in full control of it. I just remember when I talked to Cena about it, and I haven't talked to Cena in a long time, but like he was like, man, I don't even own my name. Like this was just like what he was doing to make it, and clearly it worked out for him. Like salute to that guy. But like I wasn't watching wrestling at that point. I think I stopped watching wrestling in like 88 or something like that. Like I was all in as a kid, and then I think when they introduced like the love stories, I was like, man, this shit's soft. Like, I can't be watching Macho Man crying over Elizabeth. Like, I don't want to see this. You know what I mean? Like, that was my turning point.
It's hilarious turning point. That's so funny. See Queen Elizabeth, you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with this right now.
It was like they just, it was like actual tears from the Macho Man. Like, just, it's something about that just hurt. So when I did that, I didn't even know if wrestling was still hot like that. You know what I mean? But I just remember going and seeing it live. And I was just like, yo, this is a crazy group of people that are in this arena. This is like 12,000 psychos. I was like, damn, was I one of these as a kid? I never got to go to wrestling as a kid. But like, I would have loved to, man. Shit, the old, like, NWA, that was the one. Like, when Ric Flair was in there, oh my God, man. We used to be hype off that shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's weird that I made this thing that's, like, such a big part of wrestling at this point, but I mean, in the end, it literally is something that at least once a week somebody will treat me like, yo, you made the John Cena song. Like, they just don't know.
Yeah.
So and it's a cool footnote.
It's crazy. And like you said, like, I mean, the music industry isn't the only predatory industry because...
No, it's in all entertainment's like that. I mean, probably all business on some level.
Yeah. John Cena is his real name. He doesn't own that,
It's his real name.
It's his real name. He doesn't own that.
He wrote me a check from John Cena's account, like his own account with his address on it. I wonder if I still got that somewhere.
That's hard.
I got my Birdman check. Like, I got that somewhere.
That's interesting. I've never thought about that, like getting checks from like notable people and being like,
that's how it was back then, right? Because now it's just direct deposit. But yeah, you actually get remember I got my check from Aftermath in like 2010. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like Dr. Dre's paying me. You know what I mean?
No, that's great. It's like I don't even know what the equivalent is to that. Like I, this is so stupid. What I'm gonna say. I have caller ID on my iPhone. I don't know if you know you could turn caller ID on. Did you know that?
Uh-uh.
So you can have
Oh
like
yeah, it just comes up usually.
yeah. So like I know a lot of people they don't like. I think in their settings they may have it off, but like you can like see like the name of the person who's calling you. And
Right.
I remember like kind of freaking out like, damn, this is crazy. Freaking when the Alchemist DM'd me for my number and he was like, what's your number? And he calls me and I got the caller ID and I'm like, damn. It's Alan. That's fucking crazy. So no, that's cool that you got like the Birdman, the Aftermath, and the John Cena check. It's like it's almost like a timestamp almost. It's like a you
It
know
is. That was kind of the end of that as a thing, right?
yeah
Like, because
yeah
it'd be like, yo, I'm trying to get the check. And it's like, actually, the check isn't really the thing anymore. Like, it's, yo, I want the direct deposit. You know, I guess it'd be, um, there's definitely things you're just like, you don't realize you're aging yourself because it was just the standard and then it's not no more,
yeah.
you know?
And it's funny. I have to be nosy. I did this with. It's funny. I did this with Alchemist. He had like a vinyl sticking out, and I was like, "What is that?" And he pushed it back in and just said, "Shh."
Well, man, he has, people that are like beyond serious about figuring out what he samples and all that. And they'll be looking at like pictures he posts with the records. And I get dudes that'll ask me, like, yo, you got this record out? I'm like, why would I tell you this? Like, that's my friend. Like, why would I snitch on him? Like, why
Yeah,
would I do that? Like, common sense. You know what I mean? Like,
for
if
sure.
he wanted you to know it, you would know it.
Exactly. So that
You
was
know?
that was so funny to see that because I'm like he's sticking out. I'm like, "What is that?" And he just pushes it back in. He's like, "Shh." Some Fibonacci codes on there.
I mean, and just like the producers and like, I mean, I'm also friends with a lot of guys that don't even make beats. They're just like crazy collectors of records.
Yeah.
And like, that's a whole different brotherhood. Like, like shit. Al texted me a record the other day. Like, yo, you got this. I just went and grabbed that bitch and sent him a pic back. I'm like, you're late.
Not even on some like sampling stuff, but is there a record behind you right now that you just love to listen to? Not even
Yeah, I
this.
mean, I feel like most of the records I have back here are not like things I sample necessarily. Let's see.
Those are so many records.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I just got this, and I don't think I'm a sampler. It definitely has been sampled. It's this record called Feelings. It's like a library record. So fire, so fire. There's definitely some songs that have been sampled on here, but I think it's Italian. So yeah, I got this the other. This is like I felt like for where I'm at in life, like the younger guys are like, I'm gonna get my chunky Balenciagas and show those off or whatever. This is like a Balenciaga or some shit, you know what I mean? Or whatever, I don't know what the hottest streetwear, Travis Scott, whatever, but
Yeah.
this is what I do in that way.
No, for sure. I have I'll never forget. This is such a. I don't even think I've told this story before, but there was a Korean girl who rapped on. She's like a South Korean woman, lived in South Korea, and she was rapping, and I just followed her. She followed me back. She literally has like maybe 700 followers. I don't know how I found this girl, and I ended up talking to her, and I was FaceTiming her. She barely speaks English, so she pulled out this record. She was like, "Do you know what this is?" I was like, "No," and it was a gospel record. And I am dedicated because I don't produce. I am dedicated to show this to some producer and get some producer to sample it because it's some obscure gospel record that I've never heard of. And I would just say that it's like if Stevie Wonder made gospel. Sounds just like Stevie Wonder. And I'm like, somebody needs to sample this because this is a really good record.
The gospel stuff, there's so many like amazing ones. And then like, it's the ones where they're doing it for God, but they really wanted to make the Stevie Wonder album. So like, we're going to sing about God, but the music is probably not exactly like just straight church music.
Yeah.
That's probably, if I could describe the gospel that I like to listen to.
No, and that's what this is. Like, it legitimately just sounds like that. And I'm just like, damn, that is crazy. And you were talking about like growing up listening to, so like for the brother Ali, like I watched the interview you did with him. Amazing interview.
Yeah.
Super duper good interview. And one thing that I took from that was your disgust of people just acting like rap started in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't know. That might be an age thing too. But yeah, for some, and I've talked to other guys about this that are like from my time, and like it's like if it didn't happen pre-Illmatic, it's like it didn't happen, right?
Mm.
And I don't know what I mean. Yeah, that music's great, but there's a lot of other great music that happened before that in hip hop. Like I felt like Rakim, like for what that was in that time and how different and revolutionary and what it set off, like not really regarded in the way it should be by like maybe younger people, because that's really where you start. Like Nas somehow is like, you have guys your age and younger, they're like, yeah, Illmatic, and I'm just like, wow, it's crazy how I know it was a big album, but like I feel like it's even more popular now than it was when it came out. There's even stuff like Mad Villain, more popular now than it was when it came out.
Mm.
Like, but Big Daddy Kane's first album, not getting that same light, you know what I mean, or Main Source or whatever it is, and then I try to think like, is this just because this is my time of being like 12 years old? I love it that much, but I don't know if it's just that, because there's other ones I listen to from that time that are like, probably not as good, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But this streaming thing plays a big part of it because they put stuff on a playlist and it's like, oh, you got people exposed to it.
this is great stuff from the 80s, like definitely before my time, but I have parents who, listen to that type of stuff. So like I grew up listening to 80s hip hop, and I definitely have like a like Melly Mel, you know what I'm saying? Like I think the message is like I think that's one of the coldest 80s hip hop beats to me. That
Oh, for sure. That beat is. I mean, that beat's hard. Like it's just.
it's
I mean,
crazy.
that was one that like kind of never went away because somebody always samples it, right? Like so, you had that, then you had Check Yourself, and then Puffy came with it again, right, for the May song, and then is it Coyle Ray has the one? It's like
She
did a
does.
couple years
She
ago.
does. Yep, she did. Yep.
Literally, that groove never went away.
Yeah.
Like in 30, 40 years, which is crazy. That's like, I mean, it's tested. But I mean, I love the Melly Mo songs that aren't even hits, like,
Mm-hmm.
because that's my childhood, right?
Yeah.
New York, New York, or Scorpio, or shit like that. Like, I still love the shit out of that stuff. Um, but yeah, it's like it's just a blip.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just too early, it was just a little early.
I mean, even like De La Soul had like good beats. Like, I mean, I'm just naming all the hits, but like Me, Myself, and I is
Yeah.
like great. Like, I love Me, Myself, and I. So like, I don't know. I think it's interesting.
It's really good that their stuff's on streaming now because people could listen to something like De La Soul's Dead and be like, "Damn, this is like one of the best rap albums ever." Like if you just listen to the whole album, it's like the depth, the samples, the inside jokes, like the lyrics, all of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. That's the stuff we were listening to. We were starting to make beats.
Yeah.
So like it's it's crazy it took that long. You
Yeah.
know.
I asked Alchemist and Oh Know This, and they couldn't really come up with a concise answer. So I'm curious your answer on this. When do you think hip hop start becoming like the rhyme scheme starts to become like a little bit more intricate than kind of like ABC rhyme style? Like, who was that guy who pushed that?
I think to me the one that I remember being Nas for sure, but even I think before Nas, and I don't know if there's my timeline might be wrong, but like the first Souls of Mischief album, like I remember hearing that and just being like, wow, this is different. Like all the all those like they had a totally different sound and style. Um, which is funny because like when I noticed this watching the Kendrick show the other day. I'm just like, man, it's a lot harder for people to have an anthem if you got so many words in there. They can't keep up. The average person can't rap that shit, and a lot of that music was like that, right? So I think it made it so it was a little more underground, but like on some artistic shit. I mean, when we first heard Outkast, we thought like, oh, it's kind of like Southern Soul Submission.
Mm.
But like that's not what carried on. That wasn't the thing that carried on with it, with narrative. But I'd say 93 to Infinity album.
Interesting. So you think it started? So you think that complexity started in the 90s?
I think so. Or maybe, like you could say even like Lord Finesse's first album. Like he was the one. I always thought like Nas definitely got something from him. Like, and I don't even know what you call that style, but like they would just keep rapping the same word, and it wasn't just like, you know, yeah, the ABC kind of thing. But then when Nas came, he took it to such a different level. Like you're just like, it was just every word meant something, and it was delivered really dope too.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there were other guys that were maybe doing like super intricate shit, but maybe they weren't doing it over the right beats, so we weren't listening to it.
What years is Jay-Z and Jazzo doing like the double time flow?
Like Originators is probably that's a good question. Maybe like 91, 92.
91.
I mean, the funny thing is, I remember I bought the Jazz album because the Hawaiian Sophie song used to always play on MTV. And I remember thinking, like, wow, this sounds nothing like Hawaiian Sophie, the whole album. I mean, I wasn't like, oh, there's another guy on the cover. I wasn't paying attention that close. But Jay-Z, man, the way they've rewritten the narrative on Jay-Z has been pretty impressive, I will say. Like, Reasonable Doubt was not, people liked it. It wasn't Illmatic or Biggie. Not even remotely as popular. You know what I mean? If you just go off of, like, what people were listening to. It was really good, but it was, it was just darker too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a good question. I feel like those guys were more. That was more the fast time rapping, though, right? Mm-hmm. It was just more like rapid fire, where you could listen to like Kumo D on what's that song? New Rap Language, I think it is, which is like 1981. He's doing that style. So like, it was on a fast beat, though,
That is interesting. That is interesting. Like it's like because I think about like that time period of like that because like I remember when I first heard that I was like, this is what Jay-Z first sounded like. That's interesting. It sounds nothing like Reasonable Doubt at all.
He slowed it down because he was like, oh, people aren't catching the lyrics because they're lost in that. You know what I mean? They're lost in all that in the delivery.
How popular? No. I'm sorry.
I think that the cool thing with Jay-Z is I think what he was the best ever at, and what he introduced was like saying stuff that was clever, with words that were easy to understand, right? Because I think the rap before him was more like dudes were on some dictionary shit, like for better or worse. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't as relatable to the average person, whereas Jay-Z really was saying some shit, but it was in such a direct line.
Yeah.
And then all the double meanings. And sometimes I think people just make this shit up. Like, well, no, when this line meant this, and it's an indicator to 7 years in the future. Like, I don't know about all that. But, like, he always says some cool shit. But said it in a very regular way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, rap for a minute definitely was like, hey, who could be the biggest like fucking nerd? Who could be the biggest fucking dork? You know what I'm saying? Like Cannabis was putting a lot of words into his songs. I don't know what they mean to this day. And Cannabis, I think Cannabis, that's like 96, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's like
he was kind of the peak of it, and I think once Puffy and them came and they were making hits, dudes were just like, yo, I need to get some money. I want the girls coming to my shit. I just don't want like a joust at my damn concert all the time. And, you kind of came with this next wave of guys that were clever, but still wanted to make a hit song,
Yeah, for sure. You ever think about doing something where you just talk about hip-hop, like history? I feel like you're very knowledgeable in like hip-hop and the history of it.
Man, I just feel like being from here. It's like I didn't live the New York experience, or so I wasn't there at a park jam. I don't know what the hell that was. I love, we had our own versions of those, but it wasn't that. We're more. I'd say Seattle when I was a little kid was more about like Egyptian Lover and stuff like that, which is kind of just like a bunch of breathing and like techno beats. You know what I mean? I love that stuff too to this day, but it wasn't like lyrical, I don't know. This is the stuff that like me and my friends will go on and on. I mean, I'll talk to like DJ Khalil for like an hour a day about, the one beat tape High Tech made in like 2003 that made us feel like we were trash. You know.
It's funny because like I think he was in Rhymes there. No, he was on Stone's Throw. But if you bring up Egyptian Lover, there's a guy named James Pants,
Yeah, yeah,
who's
I know James Pants. I
yeah.
definitely know him.
I interviewed James Pants and we talked about Egyptian Lover, and he's like, is he from Seattle?
James Pants, I think it's from like Spokane, which is kind of far. It's maybe like 5 hours, but it's in Washington.
It's
Yeah.
in
I haven't
Washington.
seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he's retired. He works like a 9 to
He
5
just
now.
said, "Fuck it," huh?
Yeah, he works 9 to
He
5.
was ill too. He was
Yeah,
actually really dope.
yeah.
I met him because he was on Stone's Throw when Mayor's first album came out, so they would be always touring together. Um, but yeah, Egypt was like so big when I was a kid out here. Like that was, that was like the breakdance era. Like that's what we were playing, and um, it was bugged out. We got to play Tuxedo DJ'd at his had to be his 60th birthday party. Then it was like a landmark birthday, like maybe 5 months ago in LA, and I was just thinking like, man, as a little kid, you couldn't have told me I'd be DJing at his party. You know what I mean? Or be knowing him. It's bugged out.
And it's funny because fast forward to today, who would you say like you listen to the most, or just people that you
The
really
new
like?
shit.
Yeah, like out of like new artists that you dig.
Man, this is a hard one because I just feel like rap just not really been giving me what I want the
Agreed.
last 3-4 years. But
Agreed.
I mean, Larry, that's how I started working with him. I just like my friends put me on him. He had those same things that I like in rappers. The charisma, the character. I love all that. He picked good beats, like the Larry Cardo. A lot of my favorite joints is the ones they do. Damn, who's like a new person? New rapper. Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't say there's like one that I've like. And I don't know if this is just me being jaded or, I mean, I'll just I'll be like, all right, I'll listen to somebody's new album and be like, all right, I'm about to go listen to X Clan. Like, like if you look at my Spotify, it's like literally like 1979 boogie music or disco music, funk, or Beat Nuts' first album. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff I still listen to a lot for some reason. I want to work with some newer, more traditional rappers, but
Can I put you on to somebody, man?
yeah, please.
I
I was
don't.
going to ask you to do this actually.
Yeah, I don't know if you know who this is. He's been rapping for about a decade, and he's like a Florida guy. You remember Rob Banks?
I've seen that name before for sure. Yeah.
So Rob Banks' story is pretty crazy because I'll end it why it's crazy. But he's been rapping for about 10 years. He popped on Tumblr when Tumblr was a thing, and he is, I would say, and I get killed for this all the time because a lot of people say, "What about Rick Ross?" And I'm like, I kind of put him over Rick Ross. I think he's the best lyricist to ever come from Florida. Just pure technical rapping abilities. I think he is the best rapper. He said bars that have made me just be like, that's insane. Like, he says a lot of stuff that I've heard. He's like the first person to say it, and I've heard a lot of iterations of other people say it. Like, he was one of the first people I've heard say, he said, I'm hitting J's in the elevator like Solange. And I've heard a lot of iterations of that since, but he said it like, he was like the first person I ever heard say that. So Rob Banks is great, and his father is the story because his father is Shaggy.
What?
I knew you weren't expecting that. His
No.
father is Shaggy, and so he has that. So he's like a celebrity in Jamaica. When he goes there, gets like
Crazy.
king treatment. But yeah, Rob Banks is my favorite rapper ever, probably from Florida, and that is somebody I would love because he can rap over like trap type stuff, but he'll also rap over like a drumless beat, like because he's really like a rapper.
Right.
Because like
Right.
his dad is like a real musician. You know what I'm saying? So
Right,
so
right.
like he's really like he's really interesting. So I would say Rob. I want to see some Rob after we get off here just to see what you
Okay,
think
yeah, I
about
gotta
him.
check him out.
Yeah,
I,
like
I definitely seen his name.
yeah, Rob is good.
You know who? I think is dope, and he hasn't really dropped a tape or nothing. Stove God, I like him.
Man, Stove. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where in the hell he's
It's
been.
it's strange to me that there's not an album, but he always says something so foolish and memorable that I appreciate that shit. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I think at this point.
You would think
Um,
after that first album, he would have like capitalized, but he just kind of disappeared after that Rock Marcy album he put up.
I think he got with Griselda and kind of went more that way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know the behind the scenes stuff on that, but like he should have had a tape by now of
for
some
sure.
sort.
Reasonable Drought is so
Uh,
good. I love Reasonable Drought.
yeah, I think that the combo of the like the singing but not really trying to hit notes, like that works. You know what I mean? You're not using auto tune.
Yeah.
It's fun to like once you start trying to hit notes as a rap singer, it's just like, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing? Like, you're not KC or JoJo. Like,
That is so, yeah. That could turn because like I feel like he's very hit or miss for people because when they hear him do that and he's like singing, they're like, "What is this?" I love it. I actually love when he does the singing
it
rapping
sounds
thing.
dope over the samples because that's a different way, right? Whereas like
Exactly.
most dudes that are making the dusty hip hop, it's just like so like no nonsense of melody. Like
Yeah.
you're just like, nah, this is the anti that shit.
Yeah.
So that he's bringing some of that to it is cool.
Any other types of rappers that you want to work with? Because I want to like think
You know,
of
you
rappers
know
to
who
tell
I,
you.
you know who I want to do something for, and I know it makes no sense, but like, do you know those guys, Blue Bucks Clan? Are you familiar with them? They're from L.A.
Love Blue Bucks Clan.
They say some of their lyrics, dog. Like there's my boy Lavin put me onto this freestyle that the dude did, where he's like he says something like he's like. Clippers game, snuck my tool in, fourth quarter. Why the
They
fuck
put
Batum
Batum
in?
in. Classic. Classic. That is, yeah, that's a historic bar. Why the fuck is Batum in? I love that. They
I mean,
performed. They performed
that's
yesterday.
great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's but like, would they make any sense on my beat? Probably not.
No, they would. They would. They would because I love them. They performed yesterday at the show.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Yeah, I must have missed the first part.
Yep.
I only got on the show when Mustard came
Yeah,
out
it was
there.
before. It was DJ Head. He had a bunch of people that came out, and he was they were one of the people that came out. So yeah, I love Blue Bus Clan. I would love to hear you doing something with the Blue Bus Clan. Damn.
So like I just feel like I'm always, and I don't know if I'm just trying to be a contrarian with some of the stuff, but like the stuff that like the fans be wanting me to do, I'm like, I don't really want to do that. It's already been done. You know what I mean? So it's like that's interesting to me. Like, and maybe it doesn't work or it does,
Yeah.
but and then I don't know. I'm doing so much different shit. Like we got a new Tuxedo album we're working on that'll come out this year, so I've been on that. This Freeway thing is going to drop July 19th, I believe. So I put a lot of effort into that, getting that right. I'm excited about that. So
Freeway is so dope. Like his voice is like I don't know. I've always loved the way he sounds, and like over your beats, I feel like he sounds perfect. And like what is it?
he just his style, dude. Like, and he's not even trying to do it. It just happens. Like it's bugged out watching him record, and he doesn't really get his credit. He's another guy. Like he's an underground hip hop artist.
Yeah.
But because he has success on a mainstream level, the underground fans are like, "Oh, that's not our shit."
Yeah.
But on some art of rapping, his underground. Something about the Philly rappers, like him and Beans and Petey, they're
great.
I think because they come from that like real East Coast ultramagnetic MCs, like they'll rap on them kind of beats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just go.
It's certain beats that I feel like bring the best out of him. Like the single that y'all just put out. Like I love the way he sounds over that the ringing song. He has a song. He's a feature on an old. I don't even know who produces. He's a feature on an old Slaughterhouse song. It's called Sucker MCs, and the way he's rapping over that beat, it's just like, damn, like this is how he's supposed to sound. And even the last project that y'all have, like I can't wait to hear the new project, to hear like what type of how he sounds over your beats, because he sounds perfect over the production you give him.
It's a trip because it's been 14 years, which is just crazy to think, right? Like, so I know I'm way better than I was in 2010, and just like getting in there and doing it with him again like that is like I felt like I went back home. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
I got to do that kind of, I'm like scratching on the record and shit. I just was like, no singing allowed, No 808s are loud. Like I was really just like, nah, I can't be that. It needs to be the traditional. That's what this is.
No, for sure.
And we got a lot of cool people on there. Shit, we got and there's some people, people might not expect, like Sauce Walka's on there. He did a really dope verse on a joint.
He's really
Black
good. He
Thought.
can really rap. Well, of course, Black Thought can rap, but Sauce Walker
Yeah.
is really talented guy.
Sauce Walka gets busy. And see, I feel like that, like what I was saying about Blue Bloods Clan, he's somebody in that same way where it's like, if you hear him on a just typical 808 beat or whatever the sound of the moment is, it's not going to stand out. But when he gets on hip hop, you're like, oh, this is different. It's kind of the same thing. I feel like Gibbs maybe was the first guy to really make that a career choice, right? Where he's like, if he's rapping on the hot beat of the moment, then he doesn't stand out as much. But his style on like more like samples and traditional thing, just it feels refreshing, right?
For sure.
It's a different thing. And Sauce Walker really is hitting on that right now. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I can't wait for people to hear it. We put a lot into it, and this is like the first. Man, it's actually the first record that I've done everything. I like was part of the mix, got it mastered, recorded. Like I usually don't do all this shit. I usually just make a beat and be like, yeah, y'all figure that out. I'm good, man. I'm gonna go play golf or something. But with him, I just wanted, it's like a personal thing. We're really friends, so it's like a different thing. I just wanted it to be the best thing I could possibly make.
How's your golf game?
Not that great, man. Like, I only been playing since COVID, but it's such a mind fuck. I don't know. Like, sometimes I'm like, why am I like, I'll be out there sometimes like, why am I going so hard at this? And I'm still like, you'll have a good day. And you'll be like, yeah, I'm getting there. And then it'll fall apart on you. As soon as you think you got some shit going, that's when it falls apart.
I want to get into the tuxedo stuff, but I forgot about one more thing before we kind of close this out.
Yeah.
You like I said, you like basketball, and as you said, you're playing basketball with bro from Pearl Jam. Like, you're a good hooper growing up.
I was okay. I was like competent. I played against really good players, so like where I grew up, there was a lot of really good players from this area. But like, it's weird when I play against regular people, like civilians, not real basketball players. I feel like I could whip ass. But like, if I'm playing against somebody good, like for instance, 2 weeks ago, I went and played at this run. A bunch of young dudes that do music. There was like a dude that's playing for Wazoo right now out there. Like they're just like, I don't know if we're supposed to be on the court at the same time. Like he hit a windmill on a fast break, and I was like, okay. Like, but I was making some shots. I think they just expect me to be trash because I'm old and slow. But I can shoot. I mean, I'm fulfilling the stereotype of the white shooter. I'll go play some. Like, man, you better fucking guard him. It's like I know I did my thing when that happens, and like they put somebody fast on me, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna get the ball anymore. I can't get away from you.
That's super funny. No, yeah, if I had to just assume what your game was, you look like you can assist the hell out of a basket. You look like you can
on
assist the hell
occasion,
out of a basket.
I think at this point the shooting is the thing, but like, defense, nah, too old for that. That's how you get hurt playing defense. Nah,
No,
but yeah,
sure.
I mean, I hoop with a lot of other producers like me and DJ Khalil played hoop a couple times. I played with Dahi before.
A super underrated
It's
producer.
funny.
He's so I say he's so underrated as a producer. Dahi is super
Oh man,
underrated.
Dahi's catalog is stupid, and he's really managed to do unique, different, weird shit on big artists, which is the hardest thing to do, But just cool ass dude too, you know what I mean? He's not a all in the video type, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's I feel like those kind of guys are the guys I'm really good friends with. Like DJ Khalil's the same way. Like his catalog is stupid, but he's not out here shouting it from the mountaintops. And going back to like the underrated thing, it's tricky because this era that we live in, if you don't tell people, then they don't know. So but what's tacky? What's doing too much? What's like too thirsty? And sometimes I'll like catch myself being annoyed by somebody for just doing what's working for them. But I'm like, that's the game. Like that's why they're successful. But I'm thinking, like to me, I'm like, if you don't have the songs, then what are we talking about? I don't care like about what your Instagram's doing. You know what I mean? What's your discography doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You got 10 songs that people know. You got 20. Some people got 100. Shit. So like, um, we're in a weird place with that. There's definitely like social media producers, and there's guys that actually just make music quiet that makes impact. So I'm more from that era, obviously.
See, I hate being friends with producers or like in contact with producers because my brain, I just want to put y'all together with like people that I think y'all work with. Like this entire interview, I'm just thinking like, you know who sound really good over a song? This person. You know who sound really good with that person? Because like I'm just thinking like I feel like you working with like some Detroit artists would be really interesting. I don't know if
I've been trying to do that. Like
yeah,
I like the what's it do, Babytron?
Babytron. I think you and Babyface Ray. I don't know how tapped in
He's
you are with
really
Babyface
dope.
Ray.
There's
Super
actually
good.
I have a connection to him. I'm supposed to be sending him something. So
Okay,
we'll see
there
if
we
that
go.
happens.
There we go. But yeah, before we get out of here, I do want to touch on Tuxedo, and
Yeah,
I know you said you got some stuff coming out.
yeah.
You too.
This year is definitely. I mean, it's been 5 years since we put the last album out, but it's coming into the year. Um, it's still weird that I even do it sometimes. I'm just like, damn, I'm in a funk group. Like I'm performing for 1,000 people, and I'm like, didn't even know how to play keys when we started this. Like, and now I'm on stage in front of all these people, and I'm not nervous anymore. Like, you know, when the first album hit, and we just got thrown in the fire. You know what I mean? Like we did our. I want to say our second show ever was we opened for Bootsy at like Hollywood Bowl,
Wow.
and I was just up there like, oh my god, like I was like, am I gonna hit the right note? Is it gonna happen? Like I was so rattled. So like, you know, we've come a long way with it. But it also, that whole project just reaffirmed I just got to do what the fuck I feel, because we were just doing that for fun, and it took off, you know. So that's why I'm trying. I really just try to approach all this shit that way. You know, I don't. There's sometimes I might do something purely for the money, but like I don't know. That's I feel like that's happening less. Like I'll have an opportunity to work on something, I'm like, that's just not me. You know what I mean? If I can send you something that I already made and you want to do whatever, that's cool too. But I'm not gonna like go in there and work on something I don't like. You know?
All your recent stuff has been great, man. So like from like I said, the Kodak, even though it's not as recent, but like your Brent stuff, I love.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's been another like man. He showed me a whole different way.
mm,
Like the independent thing, owning the master. I was like, yeah, changed my whole idea of what I thought about the music business with that guy. What we did with those songs.
no, for sure.
And that's another one. Like young people, they don't even know I did that. You know what I mean? Like I have like people I'm close to like don't even know I did that shit. You know, because they're not up on it. You know what I mean? I try to tell them like, no, this dude is like one of the biggest artists out right now, and he's putting that shit up himself. This is not like a big mastermind plan. The people chose the shit. You know.
You know, and his artist got like the biggest song in the world right now.
Now he hit another one with that kid. It's insane. It's really insane.
So
Yeah.
shout out to him. But no, I appreciate you coming through. I've took up way too much of your time. Uh,
It's all good, man. This is
if,
dope.
if you have anybody, if you have anything you want to say, any last words for the people watching, let it be known, man.
I mean, really, Freeway Jake One, Stimulus Package 2, July 19th. This is as grassroots as possible of a situation. So tell a friend, enjoy it. Just listen to it. I don't even if you don't like it, I don't care. I just need people to listen to it. That's really it. The rest of it, I'm not in control of, man. If this superstar wants to use my beat that he's sitting on, then we'll celebrate that too.
And on the other side of the world, other side of the country, I'm gonna be trying to A&R, Jake One and whoever rap. You
All
know what I'm
right, all
saying? So
right.
we'll
Let's
see.
see. Let's see.
You
Come
know.
on, man. I feel like that's we need more of that. You know what I mean?
I try.
Like,
You know, I try. I
yeah.
do pride myself on. Hey, I think I know what good music sounds like. So we'll see what I could do. But for the people watching, I appreciate you guys. Until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters are gonna hate, players are gonna play, and you guys holler at your boy.